Hello and welcome to this month's community stream. I'm here joined with Executive Director of the Bytecode Alliance, David Bryant. Hey, David, how are you?
Good morning, Bailey. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. I am back stateside as of 11 hours ago. So I just got back from KubeCon, Cloud Native Con, and the co-located event WASM Day, but I was actually over there the week prior to that as well in Barcelona for WASM IO. So I'm very excited to be back home. I was just telling David that, I've been getting back to some of the local delicacies here after being wined and dined over in Spain and France, which was wonderful, but, can't beat home. So let's get started for this month's community update. A lot of it was obviously well into the conference season, so I believe this update's going to be a little bit shorter than past ones. I wanted to give a little update around the road to 021, give a shout to some of the work that I've seen happening within the special interest groups, and then I also want to make sure everybody has links to conference talks and any updates on CFPs that are coming in. But first, let's talk about that road to 021. What we promised in 020 was basically some big ticket features, and this is a slide that Luke had made for his Path to Components talk. If you haven't watched that, I totally recommend it. It is amazing. It's basically one of the best ways to describe all the features that we had to build over the past 3 years to be able to launch 02. Those include parametric linking, high-level types, resources and handle types. And resources and handle types was one of those that kind of came in a little bit towards the end. But we got all of these major pieces implemented. We've got it inside producer tool change, which is some of the pieces that we had to get in, so like language bindings, for example, on the guest side and also on the host side. And we needed to have 2 reference implementations. And so that basically meant that within 2 host binding sides, JCO and WASM time, we got that in. And for us, that was largely the, what are some big high-level things that we needed to get in 02. But let's talk about what is going to be inside 021. 021 is a very small update. Actually, maybe I should jump over and show another. Might be a little complicated. I can jump over there in a second. This pull request, if you pull it up yourself, you'll see that it adds a new interface called time zone, and that adds it to the WASI clocks world. It's very small, and it's also something that we had originally scoped in 02, but didn't have enough time to get the reference implementations complete and the testing suites all the way to where we wanted it. And we thought, hey, this is actually a really great candidate to put in a additive release, because it's purely additive. It's adding a new interface, that time zone interface I just mentioned. And that kind of shows that we're able to make changes in a backwards compatible way. But more importantly, it lets us exercise some of the muscles for these other things that we think are really, really important, which is being able to have SymVer-aware tools and libraries across the ecosystem, which is work that we hadn't necessarily started until now. We also have to, our goal is to establish this like regular cadence, sort of like this train release model, so that you can just hop on the train when your thing is ready. And if you're not going to make it, that's okay. You'll catch the next one. It's not going to be these big bang releases that take years to build. We want to establish this very regular cadence that you can count on. We also intend to make sure that the tooling for this like kind of regular cadence model is really smooth sailing. So part of that is having the release automation in place so that we can cut releases regularly, effectively with automation and human mistakes. But also on the other side, a lot of the ecosystem will be able to stay up to date with these new releases. All right, and that is basically the road to 021. We're basically in the middle of this, I would say, right now. We've gotten a few different changes in. Shout to some of the stuff that landed inside WASM time, which I'll hit in a little bit later when I give some project updates. And Colin Murphy has been adding basically the WASI clocks change and getting it inside WASM time for a reference implementation there. We need to get some more tests around it. are sort of some of the remaining pieces, and then also establishing exactly how we want to cut those releases. So stay tuned on that side. On to SIGs. I mainly just wanted to give another major thank you to the SIG documentation crew. They got started over the past month. They've been making many different changes. Some of the ones that I really love are in the component model book. I'm going to drop a link actually here to share one of the things that Kate had added for describing what resources are. It's sort of a tricky topic, and I kind of know because I've had to explain it a few different times in a few different ways. And to folks that aren't as familiar with having a system that has sort of own and borrow of data types, this is sort of a new concept that's a little tricky for new folks to understand, but is one of those key features of the component model, as I highlighted it as the last big ticket feature that we got in the component model book. They're meeting regularly. There's one more change that they got in to also have a book for WASI. I plan on reviewing that right after this call and getting that in, and I'll post a link to that as well. As I said, I've been traveling for all the conferences that we had. And also, if you want to figure out how to join some of these meetings for these different SIGs, we did sort of a reorganization, recalibration of our meetings repo. So please go check that out. That should have all the update links to our current meetings. And we're filling out this events calendar so that all of our meetings are public and open and easy for you to know when they're happening and join them. And you can also share and join this events calendar. I'm realizing that I used the embedded link here, so I should drop something different on the slide later. I'll pause here. David, is there anything else that we should add about some of the administrivia that we've put in place for SIGs to be able to share and make it a little bit easier for other folks to join?
Yeah, so you mentioned the meetings repo. In addition to that being just sort of where we advertise that the SIGs exist and enumerate them, the idea is that our SIGs can accumulate their working efforts there. So you'll see agenda for past meetings, minutes and notes from past meetings, maybe documents and materials from past meetings. You'll see in some cases too, as we get to the calendars, placeholders announcements for meetings to come. So that you can, if you missed a meeting or you want to see who's involved or whatever, you can go back and browse even back into 2023 for some of the SIGs. So there's historical information there to catch up and see who's participating. And then other things will come into the meetings repo. So that's a good resource for people. One of our SIGs has subgroups. And so you might actually find that the area you're interested in is in a subgroup, one of the SIGs, and we try and keep the same model in place. So you can see agenda and meetings and notes and whatever in the meetings repo. So kind of one-stop shop or for what's going on, who the chairs are, how to get involved in each of the SIGs, how they meet, when, on, some of them are on video, etc. So kind of everything you need to know is hopefully there available at your fingertips off of the meetings repo. And let us know and get involved. And then I think the other thing to highlight is there's a lot of interest in additional SIGs. We have conversations that are happening now, so the list will continue to grow over time. And you'll see that listed there. So in our governance repo is where we have the proposals for all the SIGs. And then in the meetings repo, not surprisingly, is where we accumulate all of the meeting and historical information. So between the two of them, it's kind of what's going on, and also watch this space for more new SIG opportunities for people to get involved and contribute to come.
Yeah, thank you, David. I highlighted that, and also thank you for helping us herd all the cats here. We really want to establish a framework and best practices and things that people can follow, but we also want to keep things flexible so that different working groups can follow models that work for them best. And what that happens to be is a little bit of diversity when we first started, because we didn't have common patterns for folks to follow. And so now we're kind of coming back and implementing those and asking some of the current chairs to kind of join some of our efforts so that everything's a little bit more visible and communications are just that much better.
And we've also added, in case people are interested in, they have ideas themselves or groups of member organizations or even just contributors to projects, new SIGs, there's a newly published how to start your SIG getting started.
Yeah.
So for folks that may be interested getting together and trying to take a common interest in working with WebAssembly in a particular area, there's how can you do that? It's not complicated. We want it to be easy and straightforward for folks. So if there's interest, then let's see what we can do. And that information is there as well.
Yeah, I love this. I'm so glad you and Kate worked on this. And if you don't know Kate Goldenring, she is one of the chairs for SIG documentation. And what I love about SIG documentation is like one of their first acts of SIG documentation is to help us document how to kickstart a SIG, which is just that perfect synchronization for what we want to see. So yeah, very happy to have that. Okay. All right. I am going to go back to boring old slides for this one. All right. We talked about our meetings and we talked about events. So there is an events calendar. We're still populating it. Right now, obviously, SIG documentation leading the way on best practices for how to share things. And we also have the community calendar up. So we'll get some more of these in, and I think as time evolves. And if you have a certain type of event that you think belongs on here, please contact David and myself, and we'll make sure we get it added. All right, let's do a round of project updates. WASM Time 19 released. I cherry picked some of my favorite bullet items, but there were so many, and I probably missed something that's important to you. So please go check the releases markdown for this. Starting with Winch compiler backend is now feature complete for x64. That's huge. If you're not familiar with Winch, Saul Cabrera was on this call. Gosh, I feel like it was April of last year at this point. First introducing Winch. It was definitely March because he was talking while I was there for WASM.io. That makes sense now. So that a year ago, Sol had kicked off Winch, which is a baseline compiler inside WASM Time. It lets us start components and modules very quickly, and it being feature complete is huge. So congratulations to the folks that worked on that feature. There are now typed function references is now fully implemented inside WASM Time. That's not to say that the WASM core spec feature wasn't already done. This is actually saying that it's feature complete in terms of we also expose this API in a really nice way for embedding WASM Time. So there's now some different interfaces that you work with if you're embedding WASM Time and you want to work with the function references. The next one, the component linker type, is now SimVer aware. So obviously this is on our path to our first dot release for WASI, which and basically our larger effort across the ecosystem. And that's, hey, you're working with a component linker. Let's make sure that it actually understands and lets you link to different versions effectively. The next one is just a whole totally separate feature from all of these. What I love about the ones that I was able to kind of like pick and choose what I was pulling in is that there's major updates for each part of the overall project of WASM Time. And so for this one, this is with WASI and N having a totally new backend for WinML. And the last update I'll give here is that the WASM Time CLI now has figs for configs flags for setting up the pooling allocator limits. I feel like a lot of new enhancements over the past couple of months in the WASM Time CLI and WASM Time Serve in particular, a lot of those changes are coming in because we're starting to add different types of benches. And working with the CLI is one really great, easy way to write those from more of a black box way of running benchmarks, which is great. Instead of micro benchmarks, which we have a full awesome suite of, thanks to Nick Fitzgerald for that. And that is mostly the update for WASM Time 19. WASM Time 20 work is underway. I know of several different changes that we're looking to get in there. So looking forward to giving more updates on that next month. For Whammer, I have a bullet here. Oh well. Basically, Whammer 132 released February 1st. One of its key major features is that it added exception handling for its classic interpreter. I also noticed that there's lots of work underway for the Whammer Rust SDK, which is really exciting. A lot of the folks in the WebAssembly ecosystem write in Rust, and so it's really nice to have ways to embed Whammer inside a Rust project and interact with it that way. I saw that there was a bunch more there. They also have releases marked down, so please check that out. Their bullets were, at least one whole page for updates. So I only picked the one in the added section. So if you're interested in that, please click through there. I also am going to stop sharing this one, and I would like to bring up some different tabs that I have for projects that I see underway. So let's just do, I'm gonna share my screen for a different pull request that I want to give a shout out to. So this is one of the ones that I mentioned earlier, an explanation on what resources are and why you might want to use them. Another one that I saw come through that I thought was pretty good and interesting, hopefully mostly transparent to end users, but we're aligning back with the core WebAssembly specification to call things basically F32s and F64s. There was some thought that we would need to be different and implement these types in a different way for the canonical ABI. That didn't happen, and so we're making sure from the component model side that we are totally aligned with the core spec for compatibility, but the old way also still works. Another one that I thought was pretty cool is this one from Joel Dice. He is making it, adding a sort of a better way to virtualize different APIs via our adapter stuff. And so if you're wondering where I'm pulling some of these PRs out, that's from the WASM Tools project. There are many different crates in there. This one's specific to the WIT component crate. WIT component is one of those tools that show up in a lot of different places throughout the ecosystem. And so whenever there's an update there, I like to give that a shout because you see it in a lot of different places. For example, Joel was probably mostly focused on this one, thinking about the way that it's embedded inside componentized Pi and WASM time Pi. One last one, I believe, and then I'll stop giving you a round of my favorite PRs in the Bytecode Alliance. We're starting to align around this WASM 32 WASI P2 target. Alex got this one in inside WIT BindGen. Expect to see that in lots of other projects all around. And also this name here was originally established inside the TinyGo project for targeting WASI P2. So adding an O.2 inside target tuples might be a little tricky for grammars, and we didn't want to wade into that battle. So WASI P2 is the target tuple that we're aligning around across all languages, not just in Rust, but this is also going to be the Rust one. Okay. That was a round of project updates. David, do you know of anything that I might have missed there, or do you have any questions?
Well, I was just looking for it. I think Joel also published an update to ISIS WAFSA. This past week, and I was looking for the announcement in Zulip about that. That was the one other one that caught my attention recently. So.
Yeah, I've been loving following Joel's work. And if you're not familiar with ISIS WAFA, I don't want to get it wrong. Do you know off the top of the head? I
sync, you sync, we all sync for async. Is the acronym. So there you go.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, David. Yeah, so this is effectively, if you want to see the first demo of this, we had that recorded at the end of the day on day 2 of the Plumber Summit, and we've got all those folks online, and an amazing person went and gave added a comment with exactly the times for all the talks, so you can time scrub to get to the part where Joel talked about this new project. What it basically is a way for us to get started implementing the features type that we wanted to have for Preview 3, but a way to do it on .2 foundations, which means a lot of great things. Basically, we can get started now. We don't have to wait. We still obviously want native async, and we want that to be part of the component model, but we're able to align our tooling to start using a features type early, which is great. Okay, David, if you find that link, do you mind dropping that in the chat and we'll share it?
I'm looking for it now.
All right, you have less than 5 minutes because I think that's all the content I have left. But no pressure at all. All right, I am going to jump back up to my last 2 slides and let's share that out. Yes. All right. Good news, everyone. Talks are up for all the WASM conferences. So this is pretty cool to me because I was just there in person. I missed a lot of them, if I'm being honest. So I am also going through these playlists. But basically, 2 weeks ago was WASM.io in Barcelona. It was amazing, and it was so great to see everybody. It was very much a WASM-centric conference, as you can imagine, being just for WASM.io. And if you were to watch only one talk, or at least which talk should I get started with, please watch this one. I had to go and grab what Luke had actually submitted for the name of the talk because I assume YouTube does not like having the angle brackets and talk titles because it didn't have it there, and you'd really be missing out if you didn't actually get to see the punniness glory that Luke had for his talk here. So please catch that one from WASM.io, but there were many other amazing talks from 2 days of conferencing. And yeah, if there's other things, if you have other questions about that from any of the talks from Bytecode Alliance folks, we'd be happy to answer those questions in Zulip. I also here have the entire playlist, so grab that one. I'll drop these slides in our probably in the agenda repo, and then also in Zulip after the stream. Also, last week on Tuesday, we had the WASM Day co-located to KubeCon Cloud Native Con. So it's a very cloudy-centric conference, but still WebAssembly specific. And so that playlist is up. I had a lot of fun getting to kick the day off talking about WebAssembly components being potentially the Docker moment for WASM. So if you want to heckle me for using a very maybe CEO-y way of talking about things, please watch my talk. I did my own fair share of heckling there, but it was a lot of fun. There were also 4 other talks, maybe 5, that followed, and they were all incredibly excellent. It was a half day, so you should be able to catch all the way up on this playlist in just a day, and it's totally worth it. Lots of real in the field customer stories were shared, and really love to see that with WebAssembly sort of starting to show that it's ready for prime time on the back end in production, which is huge. I want to make sure, including myself, this is a reminder for me, as it always is, to get CFPs in for WASMCon. WASMCon is going to be June 24th, which might be a surprise to some people who have heard of WASMCon from other places, because last year it was more in the fall timeframe. I believe it was September. So yeah, it is soon, as in like next week. By next week you gotta get your CFP in for April 3rd, 11:59 PDT, so Pacific time is when it's due. So please submit your talks. It was 2 days of awesomeness. There was the Rust Foundation colo, and I believe a few other colos to it as well that were really good, from what I hear. I was a little bit more on the get the booth set up administrivia side, so I missed the Rust Foundation colos, but I heard about some of those talks after. So do make sure that you attend this one. I thought that it was easily one of my favorite conferences of the whole year last year. David, anything we should cover about this one?
No, but stay tuned. Last year we hosted a little bit of a day after event from a Bytecode Alliance perspective. Don't necessarily have that plan this year, but to Bailey's point about there being lots of things that tend to happen around the event, I expect we'll hear even more about that between now and June. So,
Yeah, I also love getting to catch up with you, and a lot of the Bytecode Alliance board was there. And yeah, we did componentize the world, which I was a little optimistic about being able to componentize the whole world by the fall last time when we scheduled the event. Maybe this is the time to componentize the whole world.
there you go.
Now that the release is out, now that language tool chains are starting to support .2. Might be fun to do that type of
Yeah, and we
hackathon.
might mean world large and small too. So
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, hey, your own little corner of the world is actually how I ended one of my talks, which was if you want to get on board with WebAssembly, one of the best things you can do is componentize, aka add WASI P2 target to your favorite library. Make that compile to WebAssembly WASI P2, and then you're part of the ecosystem. And there's really no better way to help your favorite library thrive than to do something like that and be part of the next wave of compute. I just dropped in Joel's ISIS WASFA. All right, I got to practice that. Over in the Zulip chat, and so we dropped that over in YouTube. I don't believe we have any YouTube questions. Is that right, David?
we do not.
No big. As always, we're available on Zulip. You can also email us. Either way works.
Yeah, good reminder about the Zulip, bytecodealliance.zulip chat.com to lots of conversation all day, every day. So
it really is.
Check it out.
I got a lot to catch up after being away for 2 weeks, that's for sure. All right. Well, that might have been our fastest stream ever, but hopefully that was a lot of good updates for what to look out for from the past month of March. And I expect now that we're back from conference season to really have some cool updates for April. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for joining.
All right.